Let's talk about a modern myth. It's the myth of the accidental genius, the effortless prodigy. It's the idea that true wisdom or mastery is something you're either born with or it strikes you one day like a bolt of lightning. We see it everywhere. We scroll through social media and see someone who seems to have it all figured out, and we tell ourselves, they're just naturally like that. We read about a brilliant entrepreneur and think they must have had some single, world-changing epiphany. We have become passive consumers of wisdom. We read motivational quotes on Instagram. We listen to podcasts on 2x speed. We watch TED Talks, and we hope that somehow, through some magical process of osmosis, this wisdom will just soak into our brains and transform us. We treat self-improvement like a lottery. We're just waiting for our lucky number to be called, for that one piece of advice that will finally click and solve everything. And so, we drift. We stay the same person year after year, consuming endless information but never actually getting wiser. We feel stuck in a loop of good intentions and zero progress. And we wonder why that lightning bolt of transformation never strikes. The Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca, a man who dedicated his life to the practical art of self-improvement, would say that we are waiting for a train that will never arrive. He understood a fundamental law of human nature that our modern culture has tried desperately to forget. As he stated with brutal clarity in his moral letters to Lucilius, no man was ever wise by chance. This is the foundational truth that shatters the myth of effortless genius. Wisdom is not a gift. It is not an accident. It is a construction project. It is a craft. It is something that must be built deliberately, systematically, and often painstakingly, day by day. You do not become a master carpenter by chance. You become one by spending thousands of hours in the workshop, learning the nature of the wood, mastering your tools, and making 1,000 mistakes. You do not become a concert pianist by chance. You become one through a decade of scales, arpeggios, and the relentless, deliberate practice of your craft. Why then do we believe that the most important, most complex craft of all, the craft of living a good life, of building a virtuous and resilient character, should somehow be an exception to this rule? We have been sold a lie. The lie is that self-improvement should be easy and fast. Seneca's truth is that it is neither. It is a lifelong apprenticeship. The opposite of the wise man is not the ignorant man. It is the drifter, the person who leaves their own character up to chance. Their personality is a product of their fleeting moods, their social media feed, the last opinion they heard. They are a leaf in the wind. The aspiring Stoic, the student of wisdom, is different. They see their character not as a fixed object, but as a block of marble, and they understand that they are the sculptor. Every day presents a choice. Will you pick up the chisel and do the hard work of shaping yourself? Or will you leave the block of marble untouched, to be weathered and eroded by the random chances of the world? There is no better example of this deliberate practice in the ancient world than the Roman statesman Cato the Younger. Cato was a legendary Stoic and a fierce defender of the Roman Republic against the rising power of Julius Caesar. But he wasn't born a Stoic superhero. He forged himself into one through a daily regimen of deliberate practice. He would intentionally wear simple, unfashionable clothes to train himself against the fear of public opinion. He would walk barefoot in the hot sun and cold rain to harden his body and mind against discomfort. He would involve himself in the complex, messy world of Roman politics to practice the virtue of justice. He was not leaving his wisdom to chance. He was running daily drills for his soul. This ancient idea of deliberate practice is now a cornerstone of modern performance psychology. The work of psychologist Anders Ericsson on what he calls deliberate practice proved that the key to becoming an expert in any field is not just mindless repetition. It's a specific kind of practice that involves focused attention, pushing yourself just beyond your current comfort zone, and having a constant feedback loop. This is precisely what the Stoics were doing. Their journaling, their evening reviews, their philosophical discussions, this was their system of deliberate practice for the craft of wisdom. Okay, so we've established the first principle. Wisdom is a craft that requires deliberate, daily work. It is not a lottery ticket. This is a liberating, if daunting, realization. It means that becoming a better, wiser, more resilient person is within your power. But it also means you are responsible for the work. And this raises the next critical question. If wisdom is a craft, where is the workshop? A carpenter cannot work in a chaotic, poorly lit, and dangerous environment. An athlete cannot train effectively without a proper gym. What is the proper workshop for the aspiring philosopher of life? This is where Seneca provides the second, and perhaps more practical, piece of advice. He understood that this craft is not a solo journey. The environment you place yourself in, specifically the people you surround yourself with, will either be the greatest accelerator of your growth or the most powerful anchor holding you back. In another of his letters, he gives this direct and urgent command: associate with people who are likely to improve you. This is not just a nice piece of social advice. This is a fundamental law of human psychology. You are an adaptation machine. You are a sponge. The German philosopher Goethe once said that you tell him who you associate with, and he will tell you who you are. Modern neuroscience has proven this with the discovery of mirror neurons. These are brain cells that fire not only when we perform an action, but also when we observe someone else perform that action. On a deep neurological level, we are constantly absorbing and mirroring the moods, the habits, the standards, and the values of the people around us. Your social circle is not just a group of friends. It is your primary learning environment. It is your workshop. Think about it in the most practical terms. If you are trying to quit a bad habit, like drinking too much, and you continue to spend all your time with your old drinking buddies, what are your chances of success? You are trying to chisel a statue of sobriety in the middle of a rowdy bar. It's nearly impossible. If you want to become more intellectually curious and read more, but your friends only talk about celebrity gossip and reality TV, you will constantly feel the social gravity pulling you down. This is why Seneca is so uncompromising on this point. He is telling you to become a ruthless curator of your own social environment. This is not about being a snob. It is about understanding that your mind is the most valuable asset you have, and you must protect it from negative, corrupting, or stagnant influences. What does an improving person look like? It's not necessarily the most successful or famous person. An improving person is someone who holds themselves and others to a higher standard. It's the friend who calls you out on your BS, not the one who co-signs your excuses. It's the friend who, when you complain about your problems, listens, and then asks, "Okay, so what are you going to do about it?" It's the person who is passionately engaged in their own craft, whatever it may be, because their dedication is contagious. It's the person who embodies the virtues you are trying to cultivate. The letters of Seneca to his friend Lucilius are a perfect historical record of this kind of philosophical friendship in action. Seneca wasn't just giving advice. He was actively engaging in a mutual project of self-improvement with his friend. They were each other's philosophical workout partners. This is the ideal. Not a toxic positivity echo chamber where friends just tell you what you want to hear, but a growth-oriented workshop where friends serve as honest mirrors and respected collaborators. So, when we put these two powerful ideas from Seneca together, we get a complete and actionable system for a life of continuous growth. They are the two essential pillars of your personal transformation. The first quote tells you that you must treat your character as a craft. The second tells you that you must build a proper workshop for that craft. Your internal work of deliberate practice and your external work of curating your environment are two sides of the same coin. You cannot have one without the other. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if your workshop is filled with bad influences and distractions, your craft will suffer. Conversely, you can be in the most inspiring environment, surrounded by brilliant people, but if you don't pick up the chisel and do the internal work yourself, nothing will change. You must become a craftsman of the soul and a curator of your social world. This is the path. So how do we make this real? How do we move from theory to action? First, you must conduct a character audit. This is your blueprint. Take some time to write down, with absolute clarity, the person you want to become. What are the virtues of your ideal self? Is this person more courageous, more disciplined, more patient, more honest? Be specific. This is the wise self you are deliberately trying to build. This is the blueprint for your statue. Second, you must conduct a social circle audit. This is about assessing your workshop. Take a piece of paper and write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now, be brutally honest. Next to each name, write down whether that person, on average, raises your standards or lowers them. Do you feel more energetic and inspired after talking to them, or more drained and cynical? Are they helping you become the person from your character audit, or are they pulling you in the opposite direction? This can be an uncomfortable exercise, but it is an absolutely necessary one. Third, you must begin the proactive association. Based on your audit, you have to make some choices. This doesn't mean you have to brutally cut off everyone who isn't a perfect philosophical mentor. But it does mean you must consciously and deliberately shift your time and energy. You must minimize time with the people who drain you and actively seek out and invest time with the people who improve you. Join a club, a class, a group that is centered around a skill or a value you want to cultivate. Find a mentor. Offer your own help to someone you admire. Be the kind of person you want to attract. We began by talking about the myth of accidental wisdom. The Stoic truth is that a good life is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. It is the choice to see yourself as a work in progress and to commit to the daily, deliberate practice of your own improvement. And it is the choice to build a life and a social circle that supports that sacred work. Remember Seneca's formula for a life of growth. First, understand that no man was ever wise by chance. And then, to aid you in that deliberate craft, remember to associate with people who are likely to improve you. Your character is the most important project of your life, and every great project requires both a skilled craftsman and a well-run workshop. Be both. Thank you for joining us at the Inner Citadel. If this video inspired you to pick up your tools, please like this video and subscribe for more blueprints to build a resilient mind. We'll see you next time.